All right, it has been a long time, but welcome back to another episode of Dennis and the Doc, accompanied by the number one Stephen Ashworth supporter, Mr. Dennis Thamanos. I am Dr. Chim Richards, going virtual for the first time. Mr. Dennis, is everything coming in okay?
I think so. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance this works. So if you're hearing it, it's one of the 50s. If you're not, it's the other 50.
Yep, there is no way for us to confirm that this worked until after, so
There probably
we'll
is,
roll.
but no way that we know. So
Yeah, we're not worrying about that.
uh,
So, a lot to talk about, and we can kind of pick and choose where to start because, of course, we come into this with just absolutely zero preparation whatsoever. Wouldn't have it any other way.
all right.
Um, I have been away from Omaha for about a month now, unfortunately. We'll hopefully be making a return next weekend, but been away, and a lot of good things have happened while I was away.
Yeah, it's turned around. Um, because you missed the DePaul game, if I remember, that was the first.
That would have been, yeah, the pink out was the first one, ironically. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately. Well, I don't know
yeah.
that. Yeah, so I mean, do you want to give we can give like a quick like 2 minute recap on each game, I guess. We don't need to go super in depth.
Yeah, because I was able to watch uh just about every minute of these games, maybe not live, but
mhm. All right, DePaul recap, they suck.
they're
Um,
terrible.
yeah, that program's broken. I don't know if it'll ever be fixed. Um, I did say after that game, I thought they showed some decent things in the first half, and I texted a friend like because I think we were up one at half, and I was like, "Oh, DePaul will get a win. Like they'll beat someone." They
Yeah.
suck. I don't know if they're going to keep a game within 20.
Well, and it was those first like two games with Matt Brady. They showed like a decent half in each game, and you kind of look at that and go like, you never know. They'll put it together one of these games, but no, I think we're back to they just have no hope.
Yeah, it's a broken program. Um, Chris Holtmann, I think that hire kind of makes sense.
I agree, and I kind of put a poll out to gauge if people were thinking on the same page. Like I think it's about as good as they can do.
Yeah,
Like it's not the flashy like high risk, maybe high reward, but I'm not sure there is high reward with that program.
no, it reminds me of Mike White to Georgia this year, where
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think he makes you a top 20 team, but he should be a floor raiser.
yeah, yeah. There's no more 300 Ken Palm finishes under him. Which,
No,
if we could talk about that for a sec, just how much of an abomination that is. They're 308th right now.
307. They're up.
What, whatever. Yeah.
That's not
Like
what you mean.
you almost have to try to be that bad as a major conference team.
Yeah, I mean the worst power team ever is Utah in their first year in the Pac-12. Um, yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. So yeah, Holtman, like I think you give him a few years. I don't know if he gets you a bid or anywhere close to it, but they won't be the same kind of
No,
undeniable suck.
yeah, yeah,
So
he'll
that's
explore. He'll get you back to like you should be able to win at least like 6 games a year with him. In 6 games in conference.
yeah, I would think five is should be your floor with him, right?
Yeah,
Like you're still finishing probably 10th in the conference at best some years, but
yeah. All right. Well,
So
that's
that was talking to
bad.
Paul.
Yeah, tough beat if you had a minus 23 and a half. The bench squad with a little
Yeah.
run or 09 run, whatever you want to call it. Um, okay, so yeah, next was Butler, and yeah, this is where it started of people getting mad at me, which this one was at least a little deserved. I can kind of get it, but this loss, as crazy as it is, like this was one of the turning points for me where I started to feel better. Uh,
Hmm.
because like I don't think our defense was good by any stretch of the imagination. Like it wasn't that bad. And they had a lot of tough shots. They had a lot of shots where you said like, they're not going to make that all game. And lo and behold, they made it all game. But I thought it was the best our offense looked. It was the best Ashworth had shot. Not that he'd ever shot bad this year because he's been perfect all year. Um, and it's been great start to finish. Don't let anyone tell you different. Um, so yeah, it was a loss, but and maybe it was because I'd had my head kicked in 24 hours earlier. It didn't really upset me that much.
No, I kind of said the same thing at the time. I said that was probably the least mad I'd been after a loss this season, and I'm that way about every loss, but I didn't have a terrible taste in my mouth after that. I know the big rip on us is like, "Oh, we have all the answers. We just tell the coaches what to do and we'd never lose a game." Like I came out of that game, I think the thing I tweeted was, I don't know what you would have necessarily done different on defense.
Yeah, I thought the defense was fine. I don't like the end of game play calling. Like we had
Sure,
so many plays
sure.
against UConn, like and it like that were like good ATOs. But then you look at, like what we did to end the game against Nova, like what we did to end the game there. And like I get putting the ball in one of your best players' hands and asking him to make a play, but like draw something up. Like that's what
Yeah, run
bothers me.
offense.
Let's not dribble at the top of the key and then just play ISO ball. Like we pride ourselves on movement. Like let's run a set play. Let's get a look. I didn't like the lob at the end of the game. Like I don't think that ever works. Whatever. It's not really that big of a deal. You were never getting a high percentage look there. But that was my only concern. And fuck, I wish I never brought that up because that really is where the huddle storm kicked off on. And our
Well, it's so, yeah,
our end of game performance like isn't good. Like I know when we lost
no,
to
it's not.
Providence last year, um, I think we had a chance to win in regulation and single overtime, and we got terrible looks both times. And it's not just a Creighton thing. Like it's a lot of teams like run a fucking play. Like don't
Yeah.
dribble at the logo till there's 8 seconds left, get a pick and shoot a contested layup. Like it fucking bothers me. If you
Well, it
get
is kind of a Creighton thing too, because we're back up in the top 10 in efficiency offense.
yeah,
Do what got you to that point.
yeah.
Don't suddenly start playing a different kind of basketball.
And like just if you have to get a shot with 8 seconds left, fine. Like
Yeah.
stop them with 8 seconds. It's not that hard. Like just fucking I don't know.
Well, and it's all situational. Like, like yeah, because we kind of ripped on Ashworth in that game, took a shot with 6 seconds left on the clock in the first half.
Oh, I did. I had no issue with that shot.
Yeah, a lot of people did, and I don't necessarily
Not me.
disagree with
I
people who did.
I would never rip on him. So
Right, right. Number one, Stephen Ashworth support.
yeah,
But no, I mean, because the thing with me is, I'm like, okay, if you take the last shot of the half every single time, there is no situation where you can lose points. Your range of outcome is +0 to +3.
sure,
Whereas if you don't, your range of outcomes is +3 to -3.
sure.
So I
Yeah,
mean, like,
I mean, yeah, I can get behind that. Like, but at the same time, if he makes the shot and or they don't hit a half quarter, like they made a
right.
45 footer. Like at some point,
Oh, I
it's
think I think the expected value is probably still in favor of just take the shot whenever.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. Um, the
And
only thing I would
I
have
think the
maybe
expected
said,
value
like, because they
also
said, like,
goes up at the end of the game too, because like if you make the shot, your win probability spike like going from whatever it was, like 10 to 13 in the first half does less for your win probability than going from tied to up two or down one to up
sure,
one with 6 seconds left.
yeah, that's very true. Because the only, again, like the whole, like, oh, we have all the answers thing. Like, I maybe would have thrown a zone at him for a couple minutes, see how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean the defense and like I'm sure it's a little tough mentally, like when you just keep getting everything they throw up goes in. Like I said, I don't think it was good. They gave him a couple back cuts. Not going to say who did it because, and if he did, it probably isn't his fault, and he's still a really good defender. Um, but like, whatever. It didn't really concern me that much.
No, that didn't feel like a changing lot. That just kind of felt like one of those games that will just happen to you every now and then.
Yep.
It was a weird time and a weird opponent, and you were in the midst of a bit of your schedule where that win would have felt a lot nicer to just have,
Hmm.
but it wasn't the end of the world.
No,
So we
Happened.
go from there to Providence. And this loss again, we're kind of back to the losses that pissed me off, even though losing at the dunk should never really be that kind of loss.
Hmm.
It was another one of those things like everyone's kind of said the past few weeks, you're a ridiculous Carter flat-footed three away from winning that game, and then who knows what kind of I mean that week right there, um, you look at two circus shots not going in and you say we're in the hunt for a one seed right now.
Yeah,
So it's tough to swallow, but at the end, like Oduro, Kalkbrenner had his number in the first matchup. It wasn't like like Oduro had 32 points, but a lot of it is the way we cover guys and but it was probably Kalkbrenner's worst two-game stretch since his
probably. Yeah,
freshman year.
yeah. You got.
I don't know. Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you got eaten alive. Um, yeah, the Carter deep three is obviously a good shot. I mean, Carter played very well. I know we've kind of dunked on him in the past. He's had a very, very nice year.
He has, yeah. I thought he was terrible last year. Like I'll wear that one. I did not ever think he would be an actually good player. I thought he was all hype last year.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think he's probably gonna be unanimous first team, and I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't followed what they've done outside of us, but I wouldn't have a huge issue if he's biggest player of the year.
No, I think there's probably four guys you could look at and say, all right, if they're player of the year, I don't think I'll have much of an argument for it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know. It is what it is. Like it's a tough place to win, and now it feels like 2 years where you had. It's 2 years in a row there where you had the game and lost it, and
Yeah.
they made plays. You could have done more. Um, for as much as I guess to go back when I criticized McDermott for his end of game, like the play he drew up to get the lead was incredible, and of course
Yep.
Ashworth made it because he would never miss a shot. Um, and so yeah, that was a really nice play. It sucked to lose, but whatever.
Well, yeah, and it's at this point I remind you too, like, because I'm saying this like, well, if our close losses were wins, well, if our close wins were losses too, that's kind of what I don't want people to lose sight of, is that we had a 1 point win over St. John's that we easily could have lost on free throws. The Seton Hall game we easily could have lost,
Yeah,
multiple times.
could have lost to Bama.
So
Don't shoot 20% from three.
yeah, absolutely. So you look at it and you say like, yeah, maybe we should have a few more in the win column. We
Yeah,
could very easily, like everything evens out. It sort of does, right? Where you say our true record is probably right around where we are.
yeah. I'd say. I mean, I think we're pretty close to where we are in every sense. Like I think we're about a top 12-ish team. Um, yeah, I mean that's probably around right place right now. Like 12-ish, we're 11 in
Yeah,
KenPom, 15 in the AP, which obviously hasn't updated since Tuesday.
yeah, ninth and net. Yeah, it's
20 and
you
7
know,
that seems fair.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So from Providence to Xavier, and this was, I think, one of the we got to start feeling ourselves right away again because this was a pretty big road win.
Yeah, they came out and punched you in the mouth pretty good. Um, and then I mean, great Kalkbrenner game, 28 points on 14 field goals.
Yeah,
Um, very efficient. You needed that. Like you didn't win this game with your offense. You won it with your defense.
yeah,
You only put up 1.04 points per possession. Yeah, I mean the defense is really good. You didn't start great and you didn't end great, but in the middle, it was great.
it
And
was. Yeah,
it was a big win over a team that needed it. I correctly said I liked the spot for us, and it was nice to rally to it. So it was good to see.
yeah. Coming off two losses, we needed that win. They needed that win. Tough environment. You get off to a tough start that could have easily snowballed on you, but you didn't let it.
Yep.
Um, let them back into the game a little bit, and that's something that I think people are sort of incorrectly pointing out as a weakness of this team. Like we have put away some teams this year. It's not always as easy as, it seems through the first few weeks of the season.
Mhm.
But yeah, you feel very good about that win. They were not playing their best game, but that was the start of a stretch of us taking teams out of their best game with some consistency.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, I guess, earlier in the season, like against Colorado State, we didn't shoot well, and that was just kind of the game. They're like we went 7 of 28 from three against Xavier, but especially in the second half, like feeding Kalkbrenner inside for 28 points. That's something we didn't really do early in the season, and uh, I don't think I don't think against top tier teams in an Elite Eight game, I wouldn't rely on him getting you 30 and that being your route
Yeah,
to winning.
yeah,
But I think it's a nice wrinkle to have, and maybe he can get you 16 in a game like that, or in a first round matchup, like maybe against a McNeese State, he can get you 30, and that's how you avoid a 4-13 upset where you shoot
yeah.
5 of 25.
Well, and that's kind of just it, the way that we've figured out wins in the past in late season situations is you just kind of keep adding a new way to win. So like as much as I hate talking about last year's tournament run because I think it's so deceptive, like you had a Kalkbrenner game, you had a Nemhard game, you had like different people had a game, and you found different ways to win the three games that we won.
Yeah,
But but the San Diego State game, right? It felt like we were missing that last new kind of game to get through that step. And it was, I mean, what we were missing was Baylor playing like the guy he is this year.
yeah, yeah. I think if last year's Baylor's on that team, you win it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Was gonna say, this game also, and it might have been a thing before, um, but I had talked about, I think it was after the UNLV game, that we needed to find different ways to generate rim pressure. And this to me was the first time I remembered it was the sort of pick, roll, and seal with Ashworth and Culp.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
let's fucking find a way for someone to get mad about this. It's well documented that Ashworth is not the athlete Ryan Nemhart is. He's not going to blow by guys off the dribble, but you have to respect his shooting a lot more, and you have to respect Kalkbrenner around the rim. And so, sort of getting that seal where Ashworth can get an uncontested layup on his right side. Um, it's not something you can run every possession, but it can get you 4 to 6 points a game, which again is going to
Yep.
matter on the stretch.
Yep. It's a facet of the game we haven't had all season. And you show just if you make them respect it just a little bit, that's enough to get him that extra step back on a three and that extra foot of room where he maybe gets one more 3-pointer off a game too.
Mhm.
And his threes, when he's on, it's a 1.3, 1.4 per possession, so that's a good shot to be ending in.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything you can do to free him up to vary the looks in the offense. We have not felt stagnant on offense in honestly almost a month now.
Yeah, it's been a lot better, and we'd said, I mean, again, like when we think, because I think McDermott draws up a bad end of gameplay, that doesn't mean I think he's a bad coach. Like I
Yeah.
fucking smooth brains can't comprehend that. Like, we said earlier in the year, like I would trust him and give him time to, this is a different team. There are no really, again, fuck, get angry about this. There are no great athletes on this team. Pretty much every team you play that's a good top 20 team, you probably have the worst athlete at every position, with the exception maybe being Trey. So
Hmm.
you have to get creative and play a different way. And that's not to say the players are bad, but you have to figure out how to get them to excel in a different context. And I think
Yeah,
it's
and I hate and I get why people like will have the reactionary takes they will have because like you're not gonna get in a tweet everything we talk about on here, and I'm not gonna make everyone like, oh, go listen to the podcast and you'll know how we really feel about this. But like, fucking have some nuance for half a second here.
yeah,
I think we've been extraordinarily fair about what this team is and what it could be. And yeah, like maybe we were wrong, but I don't think we were wrong to say any of it.
No,
You
I
know,
mean,
like to say that this team had a ceiling that maybe we don't think it has anymore.
yeah, I mean, when I said, I know someone got angry at me after the Butler win because I said like, oh, like it's a great win, not sure it changed the ceiling yet. That comes Tuesday. Like, yeah, because you beat Butler, that doesn't mean you can beat UConn. Shockingly, those are
Right.
teams. Beating Butler
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can beat Houston. Like, let's fucking think critically for 5 goddamn seconds.
Yeah. And I just like I know that it's the tenant like I'm almost even tempted not to get mad at it because that is the way Twitter it's meant to be reactionary. But then you have to understand that that's what we're doing too.
Well,
You know, we're reacting to things as we see it, and we might be able to have that long term of like, hey, maybe they figure it out. But to say that that isn't a maybe is ridiculous.
yeah,
To say that, you know, like we don't know what we're talking about because we questioned whether the team would get back to this point. Like it very easily could not have.
yep, yeah,
So, and so that's, you know, I think we're still technically on Xavier there, but like we're talking about the offense not stagnating. We've scored 85 or more points in 7 of our last 9 games, and we won both of the ones where we didn't.
hmm,
So, you know, like it becomes really hard to complain about much these days. Like that's how much has changed since the last time we were on together. So,
yep. And I guess the final note on Xavier, and I tweeted this out, I don't think anyone got mad at me for it. But Scheierman's rebounding is such a huge deal in the context of the defense because when Kalkbrenner goes up to contest the shots he does, um, a lot of teams in that situation will just get killed on the offensive glass when you have your 7 footer like completely out of position. Which
yeah.
again, that's not a fucking knock on Kalk. I'm so gun shy to say anything because I'm like, how are people angry at this? Like that
I
is
thought like I think Kalkbrenner has drastically improved his rebounding this year, but like you said, it doesn't matter if he's got to deal with the coverage he has to deal with.
yes, he has to go contest the shot, which by its very nature will put you out of position to rebound.
Yeah,
And
well, and you're thinking too, if he's going to contest it off his feet, you know, it's not like he can just magically reset himself and fly back to the rim.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you need Baylor rebounding 10 and a half, 11 times a game. Trey grabbing them when he can. Ashworth these last 2 weeks is getting in there.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here, but yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's finish the recaps, I guess, where
yeah, yeah, I guess
train of thought we were on.
next game, Georgetown.
They
Uh,
fucking suck.
yeah, they suck, dude. It's year one of that program's in a bad spot. Like, I'm not sure there's an excuse for them to be this bad.
No, especially when I actually like I know we talked about it in our preseason pod. I'm like, there's pieces there where if they align correctly, it's not a horrible team, but
Yeah,
they have not aligned correctly. And you know, the first thing you look at when you hear that. So
yeah. I fucking so funny enough, after DePaul, we got up 25 and put the bench in. I immediately live bet Georgetown. So I hit a perfect middle of I bet Creighton pregame and then I took Georgetown plus 25 and a half. Got a nice middle. That white number one, that like Rowan Brumbaugh guy is like he's pretty nice. Like I don't know why he
yeah,
is playing that much. He's been playing a lot
yeah.
more.
Well,
Like he played 13 minutes against us only, which I don't know why, but 31
they
and
took him out of the
37.
starting lineup, and I
Okay.
think he's been better since they did that. So I don't know if he was carrying too much or something, but he was, yeah, he was originally a commit to Northwestern,
Okay.
sat out last year at Texas, ended up there. Like he looks ready to play in this conference. Supreme Cook is a pretty good player.
Mhm.
Like there's stuff there. Epps, when under control, isn't horrible. I don't know. I just they should not be as bad as they are.
No,
So then
no.
we go to at Hinkle, which is always
Shout out Scheierman, triple double, nice. Trey shooting
oh
well
yeah.
from really good. That's
You
it.
almost hate that Shireman got the triple double on a lower scoring game because he's had games in the past where he probably deserved it more.
Yeah, I didn't even notice he was like close.
Yeah, well, I mean that was one of the perks of watching it on TV is they wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I had no clue. I had no clue. I just opened up Twitter and was like, oh shit, got a triple double.
Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, at Butler, like Mr. Dennis said, this was a great win, but it didn't necessarily change the ceiling. Although it was apparently the largest win at Hinkle in 30 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
That's actually crazy.
another game where you didn't start great, which again is fine in these games, but if you want to get to where you say you're gonna get, or say you want to get, like getting, and even against UConn, like again, nitpicking, we'll get there, but like you started out down 11-3. Like
Yeah.
putting yourselves in holes early is not a great idea. Yeah.
Well, and the people saying like that's too harsh a criticism, like it doesn't matter when you win the game. Have you watched a Houston game this year?
Yeah.
Because I swear they're up 19-4 in the first 10 minutes of every game they've played this season. And you just and like it's to say like, oh well, we're comparing ourselves to the best team in the country. Like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So like yes, we're holding them to a very high standard, but that's what we all agreed this season was going to be, right? So I don't have any problem doing that.
I mean, do you think like I guarantee you McDermott's saying the same thing. Like
Yeah.
I guarantee
Oh,
you he's gonna say like, oh, start like on Sunday he's gonna be, oh, let's start fast.
yeah. Yeah,
Whatever.
if he's I wouldn't be surprised if he says verbatim, don't have the same start we had in our last two road games.
Yeah.
Well, no, we started okay against Providence. No, it was that bad too. I don't even remember that one. But yeah, that's the part. Like these guys get mad at us for saying things about the players that like they're saying to themselves like they hold themselves to these standards. The coaches hold the team to this standard. Like if it bothers you hearing that from an outsider who like doesn't have collegiate basketball coaching experience, that's fine.
The guard's underwear before.
Yeah, who's never washed somebody's jock strap before. Like if that's what bothers you, that's fine. But if you can't look at it objectively and say that that's probably the same thing they're saying, then I mean I'm just not gonna have any time for you because you're not being serious.
Yep. So let's see. Scheierman, great job. It
He
is
had
this
like the
game,
first
and
15 points in this game.
he had the first 15.
Not literally, but something. I think he had the first nine.
Okay. Um, it's very impressive, and this goes in with UConn and also Xavier to a point, but the halftime adjustments have been, whether it be adjustments or just mindset,
Hmm.
at halftime very well. Like they
Yep.
scored in Ken Palm, he divides it into quarters. Like third quarter was 28-3 or 28-13, sorry, against Butler. Um, that's a huge deal. Like you were down two at halftime,
Yeah.
and to come out that fast is a big deal. Um, so credit to them. Um, yeah, I mean,
I don't have a ton more to say about that game. Like that was Butler coming back down to earth too. The defense was much better at being in the right spots on guys, not letting them get downhill on you. Because that was a big thing in the first game was every time Telfort caught the ball, it felt like he had a head of steam already, and he's a big enough guy where if you do that, you're putting yourself in a tough situation.
yeah. Unfortunately for Kyle, the Butler fan, they do not shoot 61% from three every game.
Shockingly. Oh man, they played so bad. That loss isn't really about us, it's about them.
That's
That
fucking
fucking guy.
crazy.
I like Big East Twitter, man, is becoming it's becoming too much of a thing. You know, the
Yeah,
difference since I started doing all this to now, and I'm sure I'm a contributor to the problem, but it's becoming way too much of a thing.
yeah. All right. So I guess that's Butler. Uh, time to go to UConn, I guess.
Time to go to UConn, and yeah, I didn't catch the first half of this game live, but I'm very glad, and you guys know me. It's not like I would miss something like this for nothing. But I'm very glad I caught it when I did. We got in the car and 14 at the half. Can't ask for much better than that. But given the way it started, don't think anyone would have guessed that's where we'd be.
No. See, we have 8 minutes in this call left, by the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a really good effort from everyone all around, I think. I don't know. I guess where do you want to start? And I would imagine we're going to go more in depth on this one. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can just kind of keep going. The thing that I think stood out the most to me was the thing that UConn fans are kind of pissed about. They're like, "Oh, well, we had a bad shooting game. Well, our normal shooters didn't get to take their shots." Like, yeah, why do you think that is?
be careful why you say it was, because people will get mad at you for it if you do.
Yeah, apparently. Like, and not UConn fans either. Creighton fans are apparently going to get mad at us being positive about the reasons why UConn couldn't get into their offense.
Last thing about that, 'cause I guess I don't want to dwell on it too much, but he's like, so yeah, he would yell at me for being negative. Then I say something positive, like, "Oh, you were negative." He's like, "Okay, like, should I just kill myself?" Or like, what do you like? What wasn't the whole lecture you gave me to like be more positive? Like, should I just that would be a way to own him? Just fucking hang myself and blame him. Talk about
Oh, jeez.
talk about bringing a bazooka to a gunfight.
Yeah, I don't understand. And like you try to think about our fan base as like a singular object. There's so many corners of it that I just would prefer to avoid at this
Yeah.
point.
And if you give compliments when people play like shit, then they don't mean anything. Like
Right.
if I say like that should actually mean something. Then if you want relentless positivity, go listen to Matt DiMarini or White and Blue or whoever. Like
Well, and yeah, that's the thing too. I'm like, if that's your thing, fine. I've never criticized somebody for being too positive. Like, if you want to hear what we have to say, then listen to us. If not, don't. I don't really give a shit.
yeah, clearly I'm not a I see the 38 views counter on YouTube. I know we have a niche market.
Yeah. Yeah, like and that's okay. Like the people, oh, you're nobody listens to your podcast. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care. If you want to, great. If you want to pretend that everything's going well when we're losing to teams we shouldn't be losing to, then that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like, if you're gonna like talk shit to us about it,
It's like I
okay, good for you.
do it for me really more than anyone else. It's an excuse to talk ball with the fellas.
Yeah. Yeah. And like believe me, I think, in the future, hopefully we'll get some more people on here at times, have some fun with it, especially like off-season content and stuff like that. But
Yeah. You know
yeah,
what?
for now, we get to just talk some ball.
Ari Gold open invite and debate me. We'll
Yeah,
be
whenever you want to come on. But I mean, I blocked it. Like I hardly ever block anyone. I got so sick of just seeing that guy.
yeah, debated it. Well, open invite from me.
Yeah, there you go. Come on whenever you want. We'll talk about your experience washing dudes' dirty underwear.
Oh, well, I'll hear him out. I'll hear him out. I'll be respectful to the
Yeah.
to
They
debate.
never seem to they never seem to offer suggestions. And that's the thing too. Like I'm not going to criticize anyone doing that too who just wants to say like I don't know enough to say what they should be doing, right? Like I don't that's fine. But then if you're going to try and tell us we don't know what we're talking about, I that's also fine. I just think we do.
Yeah, I I don't know. I think I put a lot of. I would take what I know about college basketball over a lot of people, and I do put a lot of effort into follow the sport and give well-intentioned takes. And sometimes I knowingly and purposefully give overreactions. And
Right. Like and I think there's such a clear difference between the two too. Like
yeah,
you saying like send Ashworth back to Utah. Like if you're trying to use that as evidence for your come on now. We're just not being serious at this point.
yeah, um, yeah. This is what it is. Whatever. It's been.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we'll spend no more time talking about it. We got a victory over a number one team to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So how we got on that tangent was Ashworth's defense against Spencer was great, and
Yep.
as I pointed out, so we're not going to talk about it. Like he's limited defensively. He's going to have if if we play Houston, who's just fucking huge fucking athletes. Like I don't really know how he's going to hold up there.
Yeah. I don't know what he does in that game.
Again, that's also Houston. Like that's a little bit different. We'll figure that out when we get there. Um, but as I said early in the season, while he's going to have limitations physically just because of who he is as a person and his body type, it's not for lack of trying. And his
Yeah.
effort on Spencer in that game was unreal. And to be fair, defense is a lot of trying. Like if you give me Ashworth in that effort or a 6'5", 6'8" wingspan who's going to jog around screens and is willing to get screened, I would take Ashworth.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, the job he did on Spencer was outstanding. And that's what I said. Like, and I know I tweeted that as well. Like, hats off to our strength and conditioning for what they're able to do with these guys. Like, and you've brought it up in the past, but the fact Kalkbrenner can play 37 minutes a game, the fact Ashworth can play 37 minutes while running a marathon on defense. Like, I'd love to know his step counter for that game. Like, it had to
Yeah.
be ridiculously high.
Because
Uh,
that's one of the best things you could say about UConn either is they never stop moving, they never stop running on offense. So you have to stay with them for 40 minutes physically as much as anything else.
no, yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, like it's a credit to Spencer as well, obviously, because for Ashworth to chase him, he has to have someone to chase, and I think
Yeah.
probably a lot of times in games he's able to wear someone down. Um, and the fact that he stayed on him like that was really impressive. I thought, like, I mean, his effort rebounding as well. Again, there's no reason, and this isn't a slight on Ashworth. There's no reason he should ever have 7 rebounds in a game. Like
Right.
that would
Yeah.
piss me off if I was Hurley, and that would be something I would absolutely be pointing out if I was McDermott. That rebound he had with like 5 minutes left in the second half on offense, where like there were 4 UConn guys. He found a lane, grabbed it, kicked it out, and I think we hit a three or and one or something. Um, like
Yeah.
that was incredible. He picked up or he grabbed 2 D rebounds that immediately led to fouls. Um, really, really good effort from him.
Yep. And it really is that simple sometimes, which I think will bring us to the end of this one because I think we're going to want to open the next one also talking about some effort stuff. So we'll close this out and start with part two.
We'll be right back. All right.
All right, so we keep going, and when we're kind of, oh, we figured out that the audio does work, by the way, so the 50% was right.
We think.
Uh, yeah, so when
After we go.
we, on the subject of like effort plays, I think it's time to talk about Jason Green.
Yeah. So he started playing a little bit more lately, and whether that's because he actually is getting up to speed. Fred King has been unplayable. Fred King has been allegedly hurt.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't buy that for a second.
some combination of the three, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he was great against UConn, and he's been a nice spark off the bench to do like 5 minutes, an O board, a D board, a put back, decent enough defense.
Yeah, you're not going to get 8 points out of him every night, I don't think, but
No, I
on
don't think
those
he's
special
100%
occasions,
shooter. But yeah, I mean, he gave you what you needed, and he hit 2 big shots. The moment didn't look too big for him. He was in the right spot. He set a good screen to clear up Ashworth. I don't know if that was set or ad libbed. Um, played really, really well.
yeah, and you're never going to complain if he knocks down a three or two either.
Yep.
I certainly wasn't. I had heard people talk about it. I wasn't sure he had that in his bag, but it looks like he kind of does.
We'll see. He still may or may not. You never know.
Yeah.
Not that you need it. I mean, if he can shoot 34% on open threes in the corner, then fine.
Yep.
No,
Yeah, that's not going to be what's asked of him.
you're
So,
never going to draw a play up for him to come off a screen. It's space the floor, and when your guy collapses, step into it and knock it down.
yep.
Um,
So, I'd kind of joked, I'm like, is he finally the regeneration of Damian Jefferson that we've all been waiting for? Jury's still out on that one.
yeah, I don't overreact to one game, I guess. But it's super promising, and I think we talked a while ago about how everyone or one of the issues with this team when they weren't playing well is kind of the redundancy of the player types you have. He is a different player type. He's a little more athletic, a little bigger build, I guess. Um, I think probably a little bit of a better defender maybe than Miller, definitely better than Trout. Um, and so yeah, if we want to go small with him, I think it's a possibility now. I'll be very interested to see how much he plays Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting question. Most of his minutes, I feel like, have come on the road too so far. I think this was the first home game where he kind of featured.
Yeah.
So yeah, moment has not looked too big for him, which is always nice to see with a guy like he's a redshirt freshman, but at the end of the day, freshman is freshman. If you haven't played, you haven't played.
Yeah, I mean that's the first time he's been in an environment anything like that, and be willing to make a back cut, go up strong with it through a little bit of contact, be willing to catch and shoot a three, like says something.
Yeah, it says at the very least no fear, which you like to see.
Yeah, and people probably will get mad at this, but like, I'm not sure how talented he is.
Right.
But there's something to be said for playing hard, being in the right spots, being willing to crash the glass, and maybe he is going to be a better shooter. Like I don't think when he came in, I don't think he was billed as a 3-point specialist, 15 a game guy, but maybe he's going to be, maybe he will hit that ceiling. Maybe he is going to average 10 a game next year or something like that. Um, but I don't think there's any doubt there's a spot for him on this team and the team going forward. I mean, a little bit different. Like you look at Sam Hoiberg at Nebraska, like that dude has no talent at all, but like plays hard,
Right.
plays good defense, is a smart player, and like I'd take him on my team.
Yeah. Well, and you look at Green, you say he wouldn't look out of place on any team in the country.
Yeah,
Like I think everyone could find a role for him.
he's got and he has the physical tools that some of our guys lack. Um, but yeah, I mean, really, really impressed. Like I thought so many people played a big role, but I'm not sure how the game goes without him and hitting those shots and giving the effort he gave.
Yeah, because you talk if you want to talk about like last year's UConn team, because I've said it and I think I'll still hold to it that I think they were a better group of players last year, but are probably a better team this year. Like they had star power in that starting lineup too. They had what you're talking about Klingon as a bench guy. You're talking, but that's what made them the killer kind of team they were, is there was no let up. Even when their bench was in, it wasn't, not all those guys were scorers. Like you look at Diarra and still he's not really a scorer, but they had, Calcaterra had a role. Klingon had his role. Like everyone had a role. And it just feels like if we are to raise our ceiling, you need a Jason Green, you need a Bello, you need even Trout maybe to step up in some minutes as the backup five and
Mhm.
kind of change that ceiling.
Yeah. On the topic of Farabello, two big threes, couple rebounds, couple assists to steal. Also played very well. Um, I guess just in general on him, I know we were very hard on him last year, but
Yes.
we both said we thought he'd bounce back, and he's done that. He's lower usage, he's taken less shots than last year. Um, but he's played more and he's hitting 42% this year, which again is what you need from him. The defense has been good. Um, so yeah, really, really nice bounce back year from him and knocking down those two shots. Knocking down the two threes when he did was a big deal.
I'm glad I didn't fire off a tweet until I went and watched the first half because there was a stretch in the second half where he made a couple plays in a row. I'm like, dude, you look lost out there. But no, in his whole body of work throughout that game, that's what you need from him.
Yeah. Again, it's just knock down an open three. Don't do knock down an open three, be in the right spot on defense. That's probably fine.
Yeah. And that's Ashworth's play leveling out has really changed the way you look at the bench because I don't think anyone's tweeted the name Dotzler in a while unless you're trying to dunk on somebody. Like all of a sudden you look at our guard situation and you say, okay, we no longer have a hole at backup point guard.
Mhm.
Whereas many of us predicted going into the season, and that's part of it too, is when we're talking about the roster construction, it was not hard to look at it and say, if Ashworth struggles, we're in a world of trouble. And then when it happened, you had to look at it objectively and say, like, this feels like a miss that we don't have anyone to back him up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there was the rumor that they tried to get Tanji, which that one that worked out. I think they tried to get Rhodey, which shit, did I tell you that about Rhodey?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
That's yeah, for the listeners side. I kind of know him, friend of a friend. And he told my friend, or he told someone who told my friend, so it's a couple things removed, but I think the general sentence there, he's like, yeah, I should have looked at the offensive system Virginia ran before I went there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. If you not watched a college basketball game the last decade?
I mean,
Um,
these kids are, you kind of wonder about that sometimes. That I think the average fan knows way more about these teams than the kids who are signing up to play for them.
yeah,
Like with how, I mean, because you figure they're spending time playing their high school games, playing their AAU, training and all that. Like they probably don't watch a whole lot of games every year.
yeah, that's true. That's just insane. Like,
Yeah, that's a horrible, that's a absurd thing to say after you've committed to play for a team.
yeah. So let's see, what else is there to go over? Trey got it going nice in the second half. I thought it was huge. And I think we'll circle back to this in a second here. Um, but I think by far the biggest turning point of the game is Scheierman picking up his second foul with 8:30 left, not having and going from down two when he left to up 14 at halftime without ever
Yeah,
putting it back in.
yeah.
And I also want to be clear on this where I stand. Um, if it wasn't going that way, you have to put him back in.
Hmm.
Um, sometimes you just got to gamble. Like he finished the game with three fouls, and I know Klingon doesn't play a ton of minutes. Um, but you look at when he was out, I think they put Klingon back in with 4 minutes to go in the first half. And I mean, you could say like, yeah, he might have just been getting a rest anyways, but like Klingon finished the game with three fouls. Like he only picked up one more the final 24 minutes. Like
Right.
you yourself fouled him out for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a general philosophy I've held for a while. But I think it's especially important with our team where we don't foul. Like if there's a tournament game where Kalkbrenner picks up his second foul with 12 minutes left in the first half, like you got to put him in at the under eight. Just say like
Hmm.
I trust you to be smart. Like we're just gonna fucking gamble. Like if you pick up your third, it sucks, but like go straight up. Maybe don't be as aggressive on the rebounds, but you can't auto bench these guys. And I said the same thing with Trey. Um, I think he picked up his fourth with like 9 minutes left. It's like put him back in with 6 minutes left. Like what's the difference if you put him back in with 6 minutes left and he fouls out with three to play than if you just put him in with three to play? Like he missed the
Right. You're
same
getting the
time.
same.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he misses the same amount of time. But in the first option, there's the upside of sometimes he doesn't pick up the fourth foul and now he plays three or the fifth foul and now he plays 3 more minutes. Um, so that's something that stuck out to me. And again, I think Klingon sat longer than like I'm sure he would have come out for a bit anyways, and it's not like Johnson himself isn't a good option. Um, but the auto bench is something that's kind of always frustrated me as a fan of teams, and I think Ken Palm's done some studies on it that support where I'm coming from. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, just kind of something to pay attention for in the future. And
And I think Klingon had a little bit of a knock too. He was holding his knee a
yeah,
little bit. That's another one of the kind of advantages of watching on TV. But
yeah, I saw that on I rewatched the game the next day, and that's not to date myself on takes I was right, but that was like when early in the season when everybody kind of just penciled him as an All American. I'm like, guys, not everyone does what Edie does. Like I fucking hate Zach Edie, but like I
right.
think the most impressive thing Zach Edie does is like he does play 36 minutes a game or 30 whatever minutes a game. And whether you want to argue he gets away with a lot of fouls or not, like I don't think he's missed a game with injury in the last 3 years. Like that's pretty damn impressive, if not a little lucky. I'm sure both. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like And I was just projecting Klingon. I'm like, guys, there's a reason like 7-2 guys don't play 30. They're like, oh, imagine what he's going to be like on 32 minutes a game. And to also be fair, I said the same thing about Edie last year, which was extremely wrong. It's like it doesn't really work that way. Like it's one thing for like a Trey Alexander 2 years ago, where like it's a 6'3" shooting guard. Like, oh, imagine what he's going to be when his usage and minutes go up. Like it doesn't really work that way. And I think it's something like I think it's definitely something to watch with UConn in the tournament, like when they're playing 4 games in 9 days or whatever it will be. Like, how does his body hold up?
Oh, absolutely. And like again, I have thought and still think Johnson's a capable player, but to say it's not a difference is not true either.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
that's yeah, it's something that bothered me early in the season when everyone's releasing like their top five center lists, and if you've got Klingon up there with Dickinson, Edie, and Kalkbrenner, guys who play 35 minutes a game every night for the better part of the last 3 seasons, it ain't fair to him either.
yeah. I mean, Klingon's played in less than half of his team's minutes this year.
Yeah.
The most he's ever played in a game is 32.
And I think yeah, and like they're winning without him playing more, but I think they all still think it's like, well, just imagine when he gets, full running time under him. Like this is his full running time.
Yeah,
This is what you're getting from him.
yeah,
If you expected more, that's your own fault.
yeah. I think it's something to watch, and it's why. And I know I put takes about it, but when everyone said like it's UConn and everyone else, like I've always disagreed with that.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see. I don't know. I think they're a very good team. Like if you said I had to pick a team, like they're going to be up there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not the indestructible, unbeatable team that some people said they were. And I said this before we played them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was perfectly okay with them being number one against, again, polls and metrics aren't necessarily the same thing, but anyone saying that Houston wasn't right there with them, again, not being serious.
Well, yeah, that's what I don't. And I said the same thing. Like I took Houston 10-1 to win the title when like UConn is 4-1, Purdue's 5.5-1. Um, and Houston's like, and I'm like, on every analytic metric, Houston's the best team in the country. If you want to
Hmm.
argue like maybe UConn would be higher if Klingon didn't miss those 10 games, fine. But again, like might miss a tournament game. Like it's not
Yeah.
um
He won't be playing 100% by the Sweet Six or by the Elite Eight.
no. Um I mean Houston's 3 losses are a game at Allen Fieldhouse where they shot 70%, a game they were tied at Iowa State with 30 seconds left, and a 1 point loss at TCU. And like it's
Yeah.
just I like Houston in general. Like I root for them for whatever reason. I know some people hate watching them play. Like I love watching them play. Like the way they rebound is incredible to me. Um,
Hmm.
they're one of my favorite teams to watch, but I just think it's so funny how the goalposts got moved of oh, just wait till they're like they won't do this in the Big 12. And even Sampson himself's like, yeah, we're not gonna go 17-1 in the Big 12, but you're a
Yeah.
fucking dumbass if you thought they weren't gonna be right up top and
Well, and
barring
you say all that, and they're a lock for a one seed.
that's what I was
Like
gonna say,
it really hasn't changed anything.
they're a lock for a 1 seed, and barring something crazy happening down the stretch, they're gonna win the Big 12 by 2 games.
Yeah.
It's if you don't respect that program, that's on you. And we're gonna knock that like and I've even went back and thought like, oh, is it because of like their lack of tourney success? Their last 3 tourneys was a Final Four, which they lost to Baylor, which granted Baylor blew them out. They also blew out Gonzaga, who's the second best team in the last 20 years. Then
Right.
they made an Elite Eight down their best player the entire tournament.
Yep.
And then last year they lost in the Sweet 16. Cool. Like every fucking 1 seed lost. They still tied to make it the furthest of any 1 seed last year. I'm not going to pretend they shouldn't have beat that Miami team, but like, what the fuck's the issue with that team? Like,
Yeah, I don't understand why the national consensus on them is still pretender.
yeah,
Like
their offense isn't like beautiful to watch. Like, Shed is a good, tough shot maker, and they're going to get 10 more shots than their opponent every game because they're going to kill them on the glass and they're going to turn them over 15 times.
yeah, if you're just not overall impressed with their efficiency on offense, I suppose that's one thing, but you
I
know,
think they
I
still have. I
They
think
are. Like if you watch one of their games, it doesn't feel the same way as if you look at, an efficiency box score after it, right? Because like
yeah.
they'll miss shots. They won't always look like a lethal offense. Like it kind of depends on if Cryer and Shed are both on or both off.
Mhm.
And that's another thing too we talked about. And you want to talk about like we've been talking these last few weeks about coaches that we would have, coaches we would, how we would rank coaches. Neither of us thought Cryer would be an easy fit into that system.
No.
And that's such a ridiculous credit to Sampson that he got him in there and got him up to speed so fast on the way they play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. Um, and like I know their offense has turned into a Houston pod, I guess. But like people say like, oh, like what happens when they don't over rebound their miss? Like, I don't know. Like, well,
Yeah.
like, somebody's gonna have to actually make them not over rebound all their misses. Like
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
their O board percentage is 38.7. Like that's how their offense ends up that's how their offense ends up efficient is because 15 times a game they're gonna get multiple shots. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. That's my betting advice. If you're gonna put some title features down, put some on Houston. It's grossly mispriced. I think it's come down a little bit since UConn got smoked, Purdue lost, and Houston handled Iowa State. Um,
Yep.
but
So
yeah,
that was talking Houston.
talking Houston national landscape. Um,
Yeah, but if we're talking, Final Four championship contenders, I mean, I think it's time to evaluate where we are at on ceiling watch.
yeah, I think that's a good segue because so yeah, again to circle back, I said after the Butler game that didn't change the ceiling, and now this isn't like moving the goalposts or saying like, oh, I'm being fair weather. Like, no, the fact that you drubbed UConn, and again, let's contextualize it a little bit. It was a home run spot for Creighton. It was a
Hmm.
terrible spot for UConn. But like, what did you want us to do? Not play them? Like,
Right.
you play the
Right.
cards you're dealt. You couldn't have played them much better. That's not a knock. That's just to like contextualize it. It's the same reason
Well,
why.
and every team gets those spots throughout the season. Like we have a terrible spot coming
Yeah,
up on
exactly.
Sunday.
St. John's gets a home run spot on Sunday. It's when I tweeted about like Iowa and Nebraska 2 months ago after
Yeah.
Nebraska. Like it's the nature of college basketball.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I won't get upset on Sunday because who knows, we can do some dumb shit to blow it. I'm not going to plant my flag there, but like there's absolutely outcomes on the game tree where I'll understand the loss. And would I
Yeah,
prefer if
absolutely.
we come out extremely sharp? Yeah. Am I going to be realistic and know that probably won't happen? Also, yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess going back to the ceiling tournament wise, um, I guess what are your general thoughts on our tournament outlook? And last time, and
So it's tough.
a month ago, we
Yeah,
kind of left it as we thought we were matchup dependent, Sweet 16 ceiling.
yep. And I think we were both pretty in agreement on that. I've always been, I think, a little more on the positive side,
Shockingly,
but not by much. So, I mean, I think it would be wrong to say what we said last time that we think the Final Four is out of the question. It's never likely. So it's again, like you kind of use that word. It's always hard to contextualize a tournament run because that kind of success is never likely.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
But to say that I don't think it can happen is not true.
yep, I would agree. I mean, if you ask me right now, is Craig going to make the Final Four? Yes or no? I'd say like, I guess no. But
Right. But it's like an I guess no, right? It's
yeah,
not like a
if I find myself in Phoenix 2 months from now, I'm not going to be like starstruck figuring out how to get there.
right. Yeah, it won't have been like a miracle run at that point.
Yep.
Whereas, a month ago when we recorded our last one, we're looking at wait, we were literally like trying to find teams like, okay, if we can get this matchup and maybe get lucky and somebody knocks them off, we're not doing that anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I still think we are matchup dependent. Like if
Sure.
if we played Houston, I think we'd get fucking punked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Houston, Tennessee, uh,
Tennessee's not a great matchup for us. Yeah.
that's I like those are the teams I fear. I don't know if I'd want to play Purdue or not.
I'm 50-50 on Purdue. Like I think it could just boil down to a game where like there's so much focus on the bigs that they each kind of take each other out, and then I think we're in good shape. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very 50-50 on Purdue. I
Yeah.
still don't love an Arizona matchup just because of how the
No,
last one went.
I don't either. You need to hope Caleb loves chucking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, there's coaching coming into play. Like I think you said you'd take Lloyd. Like I would not. Because it seems like every year they perform lower than the because I'm finally done with them. Like I'm not picking them to win anything this year. They finally did it to me.
About that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like the Green Goblin mask. It's gonna be like two seed Arizona, like some a whack team that went 500 in conference play. That's in South Carolina, 10 seed Nebraska. It's gonna be Green Goblin mask and you.
Like you're not wrong is the funny part. Like I'll probably still end up having them make a Final Four.
Yeah.
That's the ceiling. I just can't get over that they'll do it to me again, It's one of those things like I would rather just be right the one time that they eventually do make it.
I mean, if you like pick them to lose in the second round, they won a title. It'd be very funny.
It would be hilarious, yeah. But yeah, like I still don't like them. Honestly, like teams like Kentucky, I really don't want any part of in a
Oh,
potential like three
no part of
six or
that.
4-5.
Dude, they need to match up like them and Gonzaga in a 6-11 game because
Well, they
otherwise,
just played.
oh fuck, that's right. All right, we'll do it anyways.
Yeah, well,
Like that's a fucking night. I think I tweeted this like a month ago, like 11 seed Gonzaga minus 2.5 against 6 seed BYU. Like
yeah,
Gonzaga
yeah,
being 11 is going to be a fucking nightmare. Kentucky as a 6 is an absolute nightmare. Yeah, I want no part of that.
yeah. Like Auburn, I think I'd rather avoid. Um,
Oh, you would?
I don't love.
I think I'd take Auburn,
I
especially
don't
if
know.
Rams is dinged.
Yeah, I don't know. I just swear, like I've got a thing with them where, and I know they're just doing it to teams, but every time I flip them on, they're scoring 100.
Yeah, that
I
was.
don't love our chances in a Bama rematch.
I would agree.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to like Kansas, as
I
far
would
as
love
the two seeds
Kansas.
go.
Of all the two seeds, I'd take Kansas.
Yeah, I'd rather have a Kansas than an Iowa State, I think.
I'd be
I'm
fine
not
with it.
sh Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure Iowa State's even the worst, and I'm very high on them, but I'm not sure that's even the worst matchup for us.
Yeah. Our buddy Ari's back at it, by the way.
Oh, great. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to like look at teams and
Yeah, I was
projected.
gonna find the back bracketology of like.
I should look at mine, but I won't because admittedly I haven't. When I get mine out, I don't really look at metrics until the last couple ones that I do. Kind of just throw teams out there however I feel like it.
Yeah. So I mean, where did that go? I'm trying to pull up the. Here, fuck it. I know where I'll go. Actually, that's gonna be old. So I think the teams you want. I just think again. I think like our weakness is that our athletes aren't great. Like I think the goal is to avoid top-notch athletes.
Yeah, I mean, it's it it's an interesting situation with that too because again, like you kind of said, every team has better athletes than we do. So it's
Mhm.
it's a pick and choose. Like it's a type of athleticism too. Like when Telfort beat us up, he did it with physicality, with getting downhill.
Yeah.
Alabama, when they were getting into their offense against us, it was with pace, it was with speed. So like there are different ways that can frustrate us, but hands on defense is always the thing that
Mhm.
worries me about Creighton offenses.
Yeah. So I mean, looking at the 14 seeds, right now it's High Point, Vermont, Akron, Charleston. By far the one I wouldn't want is Akron. I'm just on like some random bracketology site.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's probably Charleston maybe could go higher, but
Yeah,
I think
Lee's a decent high major player. I don't think this Charleston team's nowhere near as good as last year.
I
Um,
actually have the same four seeds, so yeah, I Akron's the one that will be the most physical, that's for sure.
Ali is also the exact big the Kalkbrenner can't guard of like 6'8", 205.
Yeah, that's kind of the nightmare matchup, right? So
Yeah, you don't want that. They have a pair of like big wings. Um, and then let's see. So 6 and 5 seeds. So Clemson, BYU, Kentucky, Dayton, Texas Tech, Utah State. Clemson, BYU, Utah State. Give me those three by far over the other three.
not BYU.
Yeah, so
Did
Clemson,
you say
BYU,
B?
Utah State.
Oh, sorry, you kind of cut out for me.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, Clemson, BYU, Utah State. Give me those three.
Yeah, and I think I'm even probably fine with Dayton because I think you kind of just let Holmes have his way and
Yeah,
take
probably.
care of the rest.
I think Grant's a great coach.
Yeah, who else is kind of up there? Like St. Mary's is kind of up there.
Washington State, Florida. I would not want to play Florida. St.
No,
Mary's, FAU, who's I don't think FAU can get up to a 6 anymore.
your Lobos are a nightmare matchup.
Yeah, that would kind of, I think, yeah, I don't know. That'd be an interesting matchup,
I mean, they can always shoot themselves into trouble
which they will do.
with the best of them. I mean, I don't think Texas Tech would be horrible, but I trust their coaching to come up with a game plan.
Or who is that?
Oh, did I cut out that I was leaning on my mute button?
Uh,
Texas Tech, I like they're not horrible matchup on paper, but definitely would rather not see a Big
yeah,
12
not
team
a
that'll play
style.
tough
Right, I'm
defense.
not going to enjoy it at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I like our life much better as a 3 seed than a four, though.
Yeah, so I mean, what do we need to do? I mean,
I think
it's
that's probably a good thing to end on.
yeah, I just was gonna say, so Sunday, I don't know what to expect. Like we said, it's a letdown spot. Being an MSG helps.
Yeah.
Um, I am glad they had a game in between the Patino rant.
Yes. Yes. I kind of forgot that they did. I thought they had the whole week off to kind of stew on that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I'll be just as impressed if I'll be just as impressed if they win on Sunday as I was on Tuesday. Maybe slightly
Yeah.
less. But it's
I
a
I
bad
kind of
spot.
agree.
It's a bad spot, and it shows a lot of maturity if you're able to get it done.
Yeah. If you get that done, then it's just a matter of taking care of business at home. Like you can't lose to Seton Hall at home. I
Yeah,
think we'll get Marquette. Like I feel decent about that matchup. I think I like our chances to win that honestly more than I do the next game at Nova.
I'd agree with that. We got to shoot better.
Yeah, Torvik has us as 4 point favorites against Marquette
That's
and a
five.
point
I would
underdogs at
take
Nova.
Marquette. I'd take Marquette if we're gonna get five. But
If we're getting, yeah, well, it's yeah 3.8 to Marquette and then plus a half point at Nova.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, Nova's always been our Dixon is the thorn in our side right now, so I understand that one. But yeah, you've got opportunities here to raise your ceiling, raise your seed ceiling. The only bad loss you could have is the Seton Hall one, but going 1-3 wouldn't look great either. That probably keeps you firmly on the four line, assuming you don't lose the first game of the Big East tournament.
Yeah, and it seems like the trend lately is the conference tournament results really don't matter. Maybe like a first
Yeah,
round thing, but it seems like
yeah.
it's going more and more that way. And I honestly think it's just because they're fucking lazy. Uh,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And it probably has always been that way and you just don't notice.
yeah, it felt like back in the day to me, you could kind of play your way through the conference tournament, like sort of get higher up, but it seems like that hasn't really mattered lately.
Yeah.
So
Well, we talked about this the other day. Like I'm convinced there's still AP voters who think Houston's in the American, so
yeah, I'm sure. Just wait till they join a real conference next year.
yep. Yep. When they step up to the NBA, maybe they'll stop winning games.
Yeah.
But then I posed this question also. I put it on a poll. Like I'm curious what you answered for your ideal Big East tournament run. Like what is your ideal situation?
Um, Pick Xavier of like the mid seeds
Really? Okay.
as opposed like who are my other? I mean, I guess maybe Seton
Yeah.
Hall. I think Seton Hall or Xavier in some order.
Okay. Because yeah, I was kind of surprised how many people were taking Xavier over
I
like a
guess one of my
Seton Hall
options.
or
I
a.
just I don't want Providence or Nova.
I think those are the two I would rule out as well.
Xavier, Seton Hall, Butler are all relatively close to it.
I would probably take Butler before Xavier, honestly. A little more. Well, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm probably a little more scared of Davis getting hot than anyone on Xavier.
I think Xavier also has the best coach of those three.
Right, right. So like honestly, I'd rather play Seton Hall, Butler, or Xavier than St. John's maybe even at the MSG.
Give me Butler. Tough to beat a team three times.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would settle on either Butler or Seton Hall. I still think Seton Hall resume wise deserves to be safely in the field, but as far as would I worry about playing them, no, I wouldn't.
No. And here's a take. I don't know if I want to go super far in the Big East tournament. Like
Yep.
maybe that's loser talk. It probably is loser talk. But it sort of seemed like the trend lately is that teams who go deep in conference tournaments don't do great.
Oh, it feels like it has a really good track record, which is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want that conference title because I think it means something in a season where at one point we were convinced we might not get anything out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still like I'm not gonna be sitting there in the semis like rooting for Marquette. But like
Right, right,
I assume if we lose and go on a little bit of a run, it's very easy to I'm not gonna be sitting there final four week. God like God, if only we had a Big East tournament to go with this.
right,
So
right.
we're still playing. Lose first round and lose early in the Big East tournament. Yeah, it's a letdown.
Yep. So I think we've kind of successfully gotten through everything we wanted to on this one. This went. Hopefully this went pretty well, so we can try and do another one of these in the near future, perhaps on Monday.
Yeah.
And then, shameless plug for both of us. I haven't been able to give it the attention that it deserves, but we're both in the final four of the roster builder challenge.
Yeah, we are.
All the we don't know ball people are eating crow right now, so
Can I make a roster swap or not?
not at this stage. You got to do it like I do, like quietly and before the tournament starts.
What if I like actually no, I won't say that. I was gonna say I put Jason Green off instead of Yates, and if I put Green on that team after this past week, there's no I'd win unanimously.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like there's been change. Only one person took Scheierman
Really?
out of the 32 entries we got. There was only one Scheierman, there was zero Ashworths. Like I do not think that would be the case if we ran it again. So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny how much changes in, 3, 4 weeks.
To be fair, you said hold Jay's tenure. That's okay, real quick, because we only have 2 minutes left. I want to start like a wall of honor type of thing because Shireman should not have his jersey in the rafters, but he should have something.
I agree with that completely when you said that. Like, because I think everyone's trying to figure out ways to honor these guys, knowing that it's not quite banner worthy.
Yeah, you can't put their numbers, but like Scheierman needs to go in the rafters. Like a lot of those guys
Zagorowski.
on that, or not rafters. Yeah, Zagorowski, like make like a wall of honor on like maybe in the beer garden or something. It would be a cool little thing.
I think you could dual retire like Zagorowski and Kalkbrenner together have probably done enough that 11 could go up,
Is
but
Clark going to go in his 11 or 32, you think?
his 32 time was sure entertaining.
Unretired, make someone wear it every year.
The whoever the tallest freshman is on the team, they have to wear it.
Yeah, the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's Matt DeMarini, get on that if you're still listening.
Yeah, if you've got some pull in that department, Jays need a ring of honor.
Yeah. All right. That's my final point.
Yep, we'll call it there then.
Yep. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yep, goodbye.
Even you, Ari. Bye.